Okay, we are starting to live stream, and I have 2 out of 8 here. 2 8s. I guess that's 1/4. All right, but now in accounting principles, I had 21 out of 25. I think there was 21 there, Morgan. Well, I don't have the roster with me, so that doesn't matter. It's Cole, and it's Jonathan, it's Savannah, it's Terry that always live stream, that's 6. Hillary, I guess Hillary, 7. I think number 8. They're out there somewhere. All right. We'll go on for a while. I know I've got to leave here about 12 anyway. Sarah's even going to keep my tax class for me. But if Jonathan's not here and Cole's not here and Clayton, if Jonathan, Cole, and Clayton are not here, I won't have anybody for taxes anyway. Jonathan, Cole, and Clayton is a big part of the tax class. Go in. Sure. All right. But Terry, be sure you get the answers for taxes from Sarah and Jonathan and Cole and Clayton and Terry. You all do the same thing because I won't be live streaming taxes today. But if you're here, Sarah will go over that with you and you can pass the advanced test. Okay, but down to cost accounting. All right, we're not going to do anything on the test for chapter 1. All right, now chapter 2, we've looked at a lot of terminology, and we've looked at probably some journal entries when we got into chapter 3. We'll probably have a test coming up soon on chapter 2 and 3. I won't put anything on the test from chapter 1. Okay? Now, Chapter 3, we talked about predetermined overhead rates. Now, in one of those chapters, we had the journal entries and we had the manufacturer's statement. So there's 2 things that's going to be on your test: journal entries, manufacturer's statement. Now, for this chapter, we're going to have, all right, well, now, I thought Jonathan just sent me a text. Let's see. Hillary, he's really sick. Jonathan's live streaming. So, anyway, if you all didn't come out today with this weather, I guess it's okay. We'll get some things done. Hillary and Jonathan just texted in and Cole had texted in, so that's 5 in here accounted for. Terry, I think she's always accounted for. Anyhow, we'll go on today because 2 of you are here, and that's okay. Sometime with this live stream thing, only one time last semester that I have come in here, nobody in taxes. And I hate to get up here and say anything with nobody, but I went on for about 45 minutes, so that has something live stream. Okay. Anyway, this chapter is predetermined overhead. We're going to practice that and look at it. Now, we're also going to look at separating mixed cost. And mixed cost is on page 71. So I want you to turn your books to page 71 if you're following along. Now, I'm going to follow with you on this example, and then we're going to practice some examples. Now, you can separate overhead by, I guess there's a graphic method, which we don't do. And I believe there was something like a correlation analysis, which is a really hard way to do it. But this is simply the high-low. So if you're following with me, and look at page 71. Now look up here at the information. The following machine hours and utility cost information is below. Now this is mixed cost. We want to separate the fixed from the variable. So now if you go up there and find the high activity, which one do you see? Which one is the highest amount of hours?
May.
Which one?
May.
All right. Now, I don't know why they are picking 9,000, because 9,000, unless that's another example, they're messing with me here. Select the highest and the lowest levels of activity within the relevant range and obtain the costs associated with those levels. These levels in cost are 9 and 44. If we go down, we definitely can see, do we see a 44 there?
46.
The what?
4600.
All right, but what they're doing though is something that we haven't gotten into, and we usually don't have to, is separating cost, and they're talking about within a relevant range. But on page 70 is your formula: cost at high level minus cost at low level, then the high level activity minus low level activity, and you divide to get your fixed cost. They're doing this within a relevant range. We're not going to. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do what it says. What is the high? I don't know. We're going to have to leave out that 11,000 because it's out of the range. Let's go ahead and select the 9,000 as the high. And which one would be the low? 40.
46.
Since that one is written up. Now the difference here is 44,000. Now looking at the dollars at 9,000, that's $3,500. And looking at the dollars for low, that is what, 2180? Is that correct? Now, if I subtract 2180 from 35, I suppose that gives me what, 2320. All right. Was it golly, where am I getting the two? How about 1320? Now that's dollars. Now, divide this 44 into the 1320 and see what you get, ladies. How much? 30 cents. All right, now forget about that relevant range and forget about the 11,000. Evidently, that was a unique month that was not in the range. So usually we're in the range. Now here, I want to get another sheet here. Keep that 30 cents in mind. All right. Now, I'll just leave this sheet here. Remember, high level. I want you to multiply that 9,000 times 30 cents. And that's how much? Now, is that called variable cost or fixed cost? And that variable cost? Now, what was the total cost at that level? 30 what? We just added up there. What was the total cost? Okay, at $9,000, Morgan, you see that. At 3,500, okay? Now, $3,500 is your total cost. So when I subtract, I'm subtracting 27 from 35, okay? And maybe I should move this up so it won't confuse you. Now, if 35 is total cost and 27 is variable cost, then how much is fixed cost? What's the difference there? Is that 800? 800? All right. Now, what was the other level of activity that we had? 40 what?
The low,
Yeah, what was the low activity?
it's 4,600.
All right, 4,600 times 30 cents is how much?
1,380.
And the cost, total cost was 2,180. I want you to subtract, and what do you get? Because 800 is the fixed cost, isn't it? 30 cents is the variable cost. All right, so you take total cost minus variable cost is fixed cost. Total cost, variable cost, fixed cost. Now that's the high-low method. And that's the only one I'm holding you responsible for. And I know you will be able to get it. Okay, all right. Now, before we get to flexible budgets, we're going to work one of these high-low. We're going to practice the predetermined rates. We'll practice over and under applied. So we'll get in a good session today. Now, on page 90, did we work either one of those problems? Or was either one of them assigned?
Our assignments was from chapter 2.
Chapter?
2.
Yeah, we'll go with those chapter 2 assignments Thursday when everybody gets by. But today, we'll just look at some new information. So look at page 90. Here is the high-low method. 2 or 3 times. So let's go down to, let's do number 4. No, number 22. Those are little numbers. So take a minute, ladies, and work on number 22. You at home, take a minute and work on number 22. Okay, on this problem, using the high-low method, develop the equation for producing weekly. Usually I'm just interested in finding the fixed and variable costs, but the equation's easy after you find the amount. So the high level of activity here looks like what, 60? Is it 60?
Yes.
All right. High level of activity is 60 at 202. The low level of activity is what? 35. Is that 142?
Yes.
All right. If we subtract, we get 25. Difference in high-low activity. These are dollars because it says cost, and the difference in high-low looks like is that $60. And if you divide $60 by 25, you get $2 and what? 40 cents. Now, we know 240. So we know the units times 240 plus fixed cost is equal to total cost. You can make up different formulas, one in the book or what have you, but I'm not worried about formulas, okay? All right, but if we take these two levels of activity here, and we multiply by what is 60 times 240? 144. And what is 35 times 240? All right, now, here I've got to subtract, what was the total cost at 60? What was the total cost at 60? Is it 202?
Yes.
All right, so what is fixed cost?
58.
58? I got in the bind here the way I was arranging that. Okay, what was the total cost at 35?
142.
Uh-oh.
142.
Oh, okay, that's better. I was hey. So is that also 58?
Yes.
And 58 is fixed cost, isn't it? All right. So that's the high-low method. That's what I prefer you use. I don't prefer you use graphs or any other method. All right. We'll have some of those for homework. But your homework today was chapter 2, right? But this is chapter 3. Okay, now we're going to practice predetermined overhead rate. And remember, in manufacturing accounting, we've got materials, labor, and overhead. Chapter 2, you just kept up with the exact overhead. And you put it in the working process, debit and credit, like overhead credit. All right? But most companies have to have a predetermined rate. It's even like you're building a house. You get a quote, you're gonna have a predetermined rate. I don't care if it's produce a piece of machinery. All these mining companies, they order $1 million piece of machinery. Some of them, they want their own specs. Some of them, they want built by their own design. But the company building that has to know the materials, the labor, and some kind of overhead rate to give them a quote. You don't know your real overhead until you go through the process. All right, so that was in chapter 2. But now chapter 3, we're going to find overhead rates. So I want you to look at page 57. For 2013, Omaha Mechanical has a monthly overhead cost formula of $42,000 plus $6 direct labor hour. All right. just from what we have there, they have 42,000 plus $6 direct labor. Now I'll put a little H there to show that's by the hour, or I'll put an M if it was machine hour, or I would put dollar if it was labor. Okay. Do what?
Which one are you on?
Okay, I'm on page 87, number 13. I'm sorry. It's the third problem. I forgot they numbered in sequence. You had 10 questions. Problem 3. The firm's 2013 expected annual capacity is 78,000 direct labor hours to be incurred evenly each month. Making 1 unit of the company's product requires 1.5 direct labor hours. Determine the total overhead to be applied per unit of product in 2013. Okay, I'll use a little bit of our noodles here. First off, we got to find out how many units we're going to produce. All right, we're going to have 78,000 direct labor hours, right? It takes 1.5 labor hours per unit, right? So divide 78 by 1.5. How much?
52.
We're going to make 56,000 units. Determine the total overhead to be applied per unit of.
52,000. It's 52,000.
52. All right. 52,000. Units. That is units. 52,000. Okay. Now determine the total overhead to be applied per unit. Now, first off, our overhead, we read it. It is 42,000, right? Plus how much?
Yes.
Plus $6 times what? Is it $6 times the direct labor hours? All right, find me the overhead right there. 42,000 plus 6 times 78.
I think it's 42.9.
Huh?
I think it's 42.9.
This is?
Your first number there says the cost formula.
Oh, you're probably right. I'm not seeing over here good this morning for some reason. It is 42.9, so you don't have to think, dear. You're correct. 42.9. Okay. Now multiply 6 times 78. What's 6 times 78? Monique, you got 6 times 78,000?
468,000.
All right, here is your fixed overhead. Here is your variable overhead. Then we got total overhead. All right. Is that going to come out to 500?
10,900.
Wait a minute. 500, I meant 10. If that's your total overhead, to answer question 1, determine the total overhead to be applied per unit. Okay. How many units did we decide?
52,000.
All right, we should have an answer here. All right. 52,000 divided into 510,900. What does that give me? What have you got? How much?
9.83.
52,510.9 gives you what? $9?
I got 9.83.
9.83. All right, I'm gonna assume that's correct, so we'll go on with this problem. Okay. Prepare journal entries to record the application of overhead to work in process and the insurance and incurrence of 128.5 of actual overhead on 63,090 direct labor hours were worked. 63.9. Given the actual direct labor overhead, and B, how many units would you have to expected to be produced in January? Okay, prepare a journal entry to record the application overhead to work in process and the incurrence of 128,000 of actual overhead. All right, 6390 direct labor hours. What are we supposed to multiply that by?
$6 plus the $42.
All right, I'm going to go and find the solution to this one so you can see the whole picture. So when we start making journal entries, I've got to go over here and make sure we're on the right track with this overhead rate. We'll look more at this chapter on Thursday, and we'll go back and look at the other. Now, I told you this was number 3. All right, now let's make sure we've got something maybe looks funny here already. We got the 6 times the 78, right? But what did I not read here? 42.9 was for what? 1 month? Go back and read that. Why would we have to multiply it by 12?
Monthly overhead costs of $42
We had to multiply it by 12.
per year.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to make sure. So our total overhead is 982.8. So scratch what you did there. Then you divide that by 78,000 units, and you get 1260 per direct labor hour. So they're just multiplied by 1.5, but we divide it. We can work this another way, but we were wrong anyway because we had 1 month, not 12 months. It's my bad, okay? All right, your predetermined overhead rate is 1260. That is your estimated overhead divided by your estimated hours, total hours. Now, when I saw that 6,300 for 1 month, that made me think we better go to solution because monthly, I had to have annual involved here. All right, but instead of dividing by 1.5 to get the number of sheets, we just multiply by 1.5 per unit. All right, where do we get to 128.9 something from? All right, take 6390. Take 6390 and multiply that by 1890. Take the 6,300 units, multiply that by 1890. What does that give?
333.33.
How much?
333.33.
Oh, that's too much. All right. Did they give us, let's see. Now that couldn't be right, Morgan, because if you multiply by 1260, you only get 80.
What's the numbers again?
6390, but I was multiplying with the 1890. Hold on a minute, not the 1260. All right, now where did 228 come from? Was that actual? Was that given? 128 was given. This is A. And this is what you did in chapter 2. You debit manufactured overhead, you credit various accounts. You credit accumulated depreciation, you credit rents payable, you credit supplies, whatever, okay? You put everything in the factory overhead. Now that's actual. Now, 6390 times 1260 is applied. That's applied, okay? Trying to see how these hours flip into there. So it takes that much. Takes 1.5 hours per unit. That's why we got to 1890. All right. So, well, they did it for the month. So take 6390 direct labor hours divided by 1.5, and finally, we reach an answer totally different than what we were doing when we didn't go by the months. We got 4,260 units. So here's your final outcome, 4,260 units, okay? Okay, the ground is white, the roads are still just wet, and the snow has turned into a real lazy little bit of white stuff just wandering around in the air. It's definitely maybe a flurry and not snow. Okay, that was a predetermined overhead rate. Now we're going to go ahead and do number 14. Okay, this Automobile Associates applies overhead using an overhead rate for fixed and variable. The rate is 250% of direct labor costs during the first 3 months. Now, that would seem to be easy because it's 250%, and 250% is 2.5. All right. If your labor cost is $100, then your overhead would be 2.5 times that, which would be $250. So let's look at that one. What amount of overhead was applied to production in each of these 3 months? All right, take your 180 and multiply it by 2.5. Take your 165 and multiply it by 2.5. The same with 170. Did you get 450, Monique? 412.5 and 425? All right, now what was the actual overhead on 14A? The actual overhead was 440. So 440, if we subtract 440 from 450, what do we get? And you get 10. And I swear this thing, I wish it would write on here like it does some. Now 10,000. Is that over or under applied? Huh? Under. Okay. Now, or over. Now this is your applied 450, right? But your actual was 440, right? So it was over applied. Over applied. Now you can see that here, which I had it up there anyway. Okay. Now here, your actual 412 and your applied was your actual was 420, your applied was 412, under applied. All right. Actual 425, applied 421, under applied. Altogether, you've got 6,100 over applied for these 3 months. Now, do you have any idea what you do with it? You will debit cost of goods sold, 6,100, and you'll credit factory overhead 6,100. You got to give factory overhead a zero balance. You got to give it a zero balance. All right, let's see. You can apply that to departments. And I want to take you back to page 72 and 3. Page 72 and 73. Now, we're getting into the end before we get into the beginning. I've tried to get you to understand overhead just by looking at a couple of problems. The applied rate. But we will look at a PowerPoint. We'll look at your chapter 11 and chapter 2 problems. Then we will look at a PowerPoint on chapter 3. And then we'll look at some problems on chapter 3, okay? But your only assignment for, of course, Thursday would be read chapter 3 real well. Make sure you have your problems caught up to date on chapter 2. And if you have time, work the first 4 exercises, which we worked 1 today, maybe 2 today. Work the first 4 exercises, which starts with 13, I think, right? Or starts with 11. Try to work 11, 12, 13, 14 exercises. We may have done 1 or 2 of those today. So that brings you up to date on your assignment. But I want you to look at a key term here on page 73. Overview of absorption and variable cost. An overview. Now, I'd rather for you to see those in statements, okay? I'm trying to see the difference here. Okay, I want you to go to page 78 now. 78. Now, look at absorption and variable costing. Which one of those 2 did you have in principles of accounting? Okay? Morgan is still in principles of accounting too, but Morgan. Look at absorption. We had sales minus cost of goods sold gives us gross margin. We didn't have these variances up here. Then we had sales administrative. We actually had absorption cost and accounting principle. Now, with variable costing, we have sales minus variable cost gives us contribution margin. Now, Monique, did you ever been in Trumbull County? Then you know what contribution margin is. And then you subtract out fixed expenses, and you get income before tax. So let me try to illustrate those two. Just close my book and see what we can do here. It won't disappear for me, so. All right, basically in absorption costing, we had sales minus cost of merchandise sold gave us GP minus selling and administrative gave us net income. Okay. Now that is absorption. Now under variable costing, we still have sales minus variable cost. Now that may be broken down into fixed. No, not necessarily. That gives you contribution margin. Now when you subtract fixed cost, that gives you net income. Now if I had these words spelled out, there's a lot of differences there. But you get the same answer, don't you? So this is another thing, chapter 3. When you read it, you'll see it better. All right. Sales minus variable cost gives you contribution margin. Now, minus fixed cost gives you net income. Now, later on, we'll look at that and try to break even. We take out variable cost and fixed cost, we'll break even. But here we're planning on a net income. Now, folks, with that and the snow, and I got to leave here at 12 o'clock anyway, I'm going to let you go today. So we're missing a half an hour class. Maybe we'll make it up when you make a test. You'll be staying late. Okay? So y'all be careful. And I'm going to cut down the live streaming. So Jonathan, you and Cole and Clayton can go out and sleigh ride today. All right. See everybody Thursday. Be